All right, all right. I'd like to thank everybody again for joining us tonight. Another episode of Creative Real Estate University. Again, you can find us on Facebook or YouTube. And tonight we have special guests talking about one of our favorite topics all the time. You know, private money is always one of our favorite topics, but we have Keleisha Carter joining us all the way from Tampa, Florida. So thank you, Keleisha, for coming and spending some time with us. We appreciate it. Oh, how you doing tonight?
Feeling fantastic, enjoying this Florida weather, so that's amazing. Except for the humidity, but apart from that, it's pretty good.
That's it. We spent some time in Florida. My work was going to move me there at one time, so I was looking at a house, but the summers are just so humid. Oh, it's rough.
You get used to it. They say you get used to it after a while, but I'm still trying to see when will that happen.
I got used to the Texas summer, so I imagine you get used to the Florida ones. So
I've heard that too. Everyone's like, if you can handle Florida, like you're fine. Because Texas and Arizona is completely different. So I'm like, okay, I'll stay here in Florida.
So Keleisha, not everybody knows you. So if you want to give us an introduction, and how did you get involved in real estate, and what brought you to this private money world that you're in now?
So what brought me to real estate? Funny enough, HGTV. I'm not gonna lie. But I was working at W2. I was managing a restaurant on Martha's Vineyard. And I knew I wanted to get out of the restaurant industry. And one way was real estate. Thanks to Bigger Pockets, that's where I learned most of the things that I know. And then I just started doing fix and flips remotely, got into short-term rental. But during the fix and flip project of it, the bank left me at the closing table twice.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, yeah, I need to figure out how to raise capital. Didn't sure which route to take. And after listening to Amy Majori on Bigger Pockets, her episode, I was like, okay, I know if I want to get to the next level, I need a coach. So I decided to invest in a mentorship program focused heavily on that. And then from that, learned about sub 2 with Pace Morby. And I was like, okay, I can get creative with building my portfolio. And I realized having the knowledge of raising capital and sub 2, bingo. You can do so much with those. So that's just what I've been, how I got in. And from that, I've just been focused on raising private capital and just do partnerships and getting properties using other people's money.
Amy is fantastic, and I got to get out. So I've met her a couple of times, but I got to get out to her raising private money. Let's see, yeah, RPM, right? Our raising private money seminars, and I tried to get her on the show. Our schedules just clashed, and we didn't work out.
She would do it for sure. I think that's what I love about her. Like you ask her to speak at something, once she's available, she'll do it. That's what I love.
You know, and I just have to change the schedule. Maybe we don't do it live because here I am out on the East Coast. And so we always try to do it late in the afternoon, and she doesn't want to do anything after 5 p.m. her time. And I understand that she's got family and priorities, right? Which is great. But we're trying to make it available time that we could all kind of come together. But maybe we just have to do it recorded. Yeah. But we appreciate your time. So how did you get your first remote fix and flip?
How do I get that? Actually, Facebook groups. I was in the local Facebook wholesaling group. So I am always like posting that what I'm looking for. If wholesalers post like, hey, share your buy box, I'll put that. There was this one wholesaler I just always talked to over the phone. And then because I wanted to be there, I went to Memphis and I was like, okay, hey, I'm here. I don't know if you have anything right now, but I'm just here for a couple of days. I need to find my first project before I leave.
Excellent.
And the Saturday before I left, he called me. He's like, hey, I have this property. I have a few investors that's going to take a look at it. We only have today to check it out. Checked it out. It was ripped to the studs. For me, I'm like, I was just happy. So
I like you already. You and I have a lot in common.
Yeah, I loved it. And I had a project manager who I've been building this relationship with from Bigger Pockets the entire time. So it's like, hey, I'm gonna want this property in this area. You know it. Can you just follow my partner in that? And he came with us, walked it, told us how much it would cost. And when I say like this is ripped to the studs, plumbing, no roof, no nothing. The property was being sold for $25,000. And we negotiated and paid $22,000 for it. Used a hard money lender. For us, we were completely new. So that hard money funded 100% of the purchase and the rehab
Okay,
of that property. So that was pretty good for a first time. And then
that's really good for a first time. Yeah.
so we're like even shocked too, but the rate was very expensive. We paid like 15%, 2 points. But the margins on that was pretty good. It should have been a burr, but we ended up having to sell it, and we sold it for $130,000.
All right.
That one, and then we're like, this works. Can you get the next?
Doesn't just work on TV. It actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we got the next one, and then we were running out of capital. We're like, okay, we can't be paying these high rates all the time with hard money. So someone told us about we're like, okay, we can do short-term rentals. So someone told us about the Smoky Mountains. They're like, it's very expensive to get in, but it's worth it. The margins are there. Looking into the home, we're like, holy crap, how are we gonna come up with a down payment over $100K? Because that's a lot of money for a down payment. So we took some of the funds that we got from the fix and flip, but we're still short. And we were just telling friends and family. We always told friends and family what our plans were and all of that. We had one friend that was in the military, and he was like, hey, I know what you guys are doing, and what the goal is. I have $25,000. Just do something with it. At no point we knew this was private money. We're like, okay, we just see what we're doing. My partner at the time, his parents were interested as well, had another $30,000. Like, I trust you guys, whatever is it that you're doing, I want this passive income I hear people talking about. Got that, so we got all the money put together. Now, we were still figuring this out. We went on Google because we're like, okay, we want to do this right, give them the right paperwork. Found a promissory note on Google, which I do not recommend at this point in my career. No. We did not do this whole deed of trust, no, nothing like that, because we didn't know. We just did a promissory note, and we said, and the terms are pretty simple, still not clear. And the terms are, we give them a percentage of the cash flow. We didn't determine what that percentage is, but we give them a percentage of the cash flow. And if it's that they want to stay at the cabin during the slow period for a couple of days, they can go and stay there. So that was just the agreement, simple, word of mouth. Every month, we just send them a monthly payment, and we let them know what's going on with the property. So pretty simple with that one.
So again, that one being remote for you, not so much rehab, not a heavy rehabber, but now you have something that it's ongoing management remotely.
Yes.
Yeah. Any big challenges there?
Not right now, honestly. It's been going pretty well. I think that once you have systems in place, there's softwares out there that it can be done. Actually setting up a short-term rental that I got sub to in San Antonio. Use private money for that entire deal. So I'll share a breakdown of that as well. And I'm setting that up remotely as well, and found all of my team on Facebook and referrals.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how, I know obviously the topic is how we raise private money and so how are you, what are your tips and tricks for raising private money?
Honestly, what I would say is why I got my first lenders is I'm pretty active on social media. So even before I started focus heavily on social media, on raising capital, I just always post what I was doing. And I know one of the fear when I started, and I still get that, is I'm not an expert or imposter syndrome. But sometimes I'm reminded that someone is in the position where I was a year ago. if I could just share what I've learned or what questions I was seeking back then and answers, then that would be super helpful. So I would say like post on social media. I have a marketing background, but still that's nothing. A lot of us, we go to events and we take pictures. We take a lot of selfies with people, yet we don't post them. We take videos, yet we don't post them. We do property walkthroughs. We do pictures of webinar right now or Zoom meetings, and we still don't post them. You gotta post and just share, this is what I'm doing, because then people are watching you. I found PMLs who would send me DMs and they could tell me my stories since I started. And they're not active on social. I will go on their profile, nothing real estate related at all. Or they don't post as much. And they're like, hey, I see what you have been doing. I'm looking to get in. How can I get in? I have this amount of money. And I'm shocked a lot of times when that happens. So I would say like post on social media and tell people what you're doing. Whether you're
where are you posting at? Are you just posting on your page, or are you actually focused on certain groups?
I am posting a lot on my Instagram. I love Instagram. And which it cross shares over to Facebook. Facebook groups, as well as the Facebook group, there are a lot of groups that doesn't like the self-promoting. So what I will do is go into those Facebook groups and bring value. So I would just go in and make a post. Okay, this is what I've learned, and I'm sharing what I've learned. This is a project that I've closed on, and this is how the deal was structured. Or maybe I don't have anything to say, but I will read through the comments. And if anyone wants help, if I think I know the answer, then I will comment there. And then from there, that's where the building relationships even starts as well.
Yeah.
So again, just to reiterate on that, Keleisha, you're providing value to the community, not going out and giving sales pitches everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. So you open the door by helping people.
Yes.
Welcome to Creative Real Estate University.
Yes. That's exactly what Shane and I do is we're trying to create value. Several of the members here are from REEN, which is a real women. Have you heard of them,
No.
Keleisha? REEN is Women's Real Estate Investors Network. And sometimes I feel that the training it's a lot of money to join, I should say, but some of it's very limited, So there's all these other ways to do real estate, right? I mean, you could be just a PML if you wanted to, if you can buy, but a lot of them are newer, I should say, and that's kind of why we created this groups to provide value, to bring people like you in and to share your knowledge, share it with us as well, because Shane and I are always raising private money as well.
And that's the thing too. I tell people, like, even with our podcast that we're doing, as much as we're raising capital and bringing people on, during those interviews, a lot of times we're learning. Because we're learning what other investors are doing and their approach. And then sometimes, like a small thing, maybe what we're struggling with in our business, one investor share one thing, and in my head, I'm like, ding, ding, there you go. That's the solution that I needed. So we're all learning as well as we go along. But as you guys said, like the value is key. Like once you go the approach of how can I help, then I think everything else will flow after that.
So how are these people finding you? So you're posting on social media and, how are these people finding you and saying, hey, I have a 401k that's sitting there, not making money. How are they reaching out to you and finding you?
So I think I'm going to use Facebook groups, for example. I try to be as active as I can in Sub 2 and Amy's group and other groups as well, which will now lead to people adding me on Facebook, or I will add them on Facebook. When I post over on my page, they will see what I'm posting and they would reach out to me.
Okay, I see you now. Got it.
Sometimes a little trick that I do, and I think this is not even new, but I think it's just the consistency of it. When I'm searching in groups, I use keywords, like let's say like I dedicate time where, okay, Monday, 1 to 3, it's called outreach. And all I'm doing is connecting with people. I don't care how much, we're not trying to raise money. I just want to connect with you. So I would go in the Facebook groups and I would search for keywords, lending, PML, retirement, funds, those little keywords. And as you search, more things will pop up what you can search. If there's someone who mentioned, I think I made a post there recently and someone commented, I'm in the process of setting up my retirement account. Just because I posted, what I did was to reach out. I didn't say, hey, I have a project I want you to fund. I said, hey, thanks for commenting under my post. I saw that you're setting up your retirement account. If you need help, I have a few companies that I've worked with and my PMLs have had experience with them if you need any referrals.
Got it.
After that, now they ask me every question. Okay, this is where I'm stuck. What should I do next? Still haven't even brought up any investment opportunity. They actually went on my page, saw that I'm raising capital. I'm like, hey, I saw this deal that you have. Tell me about it. Leading with value.
Always leading with value. Yeah. Some of the heavy hitters, the guys that call, gals that call for like pre-foreclosure markets, and that's how they take every lead. And they'll start off by saying, people ask them, give me a price for the house. And they'll say, I'm not here to buy your house. I'm here to help you. Right. Let's hear the story. Let's see how we can first see if we can get you to stay in the house. Right. And we work through all the different angles of that, and how do we do credit repair and building all these things first. Then the very last step is, okay, if all those things didn't work, your final exit is you have to leave the house. Well, please consider me for that. And that tactic works so well, rather than the hundreds of other people that just call and say, I'll give you 20 cents on the dollar for your house, click.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time. And who they'll remember is who's helped them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things was that it's a, I don't know how to put this. It can be tough at times because you might just think that you're giving. But I find like whenever you feel like you're getting into that space of, oh my God, when am I going to get my breakthrough? I'm just giving. Just take a break sometimes. Just disconnect, or find like for what works for me is just affirmations. I would just talk to myself. This will pay off. Just pushing through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get DMs all day long. And I understand. I mean, I love our real estate group. I do, but I get pinged an awful lot, but yeah.
It can be, it can be a lot. Even now I start like with raising capital, I start stepping outside of sub 2, and whoever I have in sub 2, for me, it's just building relationship. Like I did something the other day and I had a few PMLs like, what's going on? So everyone in my phone who's a PML, I save their number as a PML, but I do this routine checkup, like once a month. I would go in and I would send them a text. And I'll be like, hey, hope you're having a good day. Let me know if there's anything I can help you with, or if you have any questions about the lending process. I'm here if you need anything. Have a fantastic day. That's it. And someone would like, it maybe if I've been texting them and no response, some would respond like, I'm not ignoring you or anything like that. I've just been busy. I'm like, hey, you're good. I'm just checking in to see if there's anything that you need help with. Then there was this other lender who reached out to be like, oh my God, yes, I need help with this. And for some person, I caught them off guard because they thought I was looking for funding. And some of them I kept saying, no, I know you're getting my emails. I'm not looking for funding. This is just my check-in. I'm just checking just to see how you're doing. For some persons, that meant a lot.
Okay, that's good to know, just to check in.
So Keleisha, how are you managing that? Yeah, I've seen everything from people who just keep names in an Excel spreadsheet, or I have seen people who pay for completely hefty subscriptions for some software programs that manage all those contacts and send out reminders and automatic replies. Where do you fall on that?
So I do email newsletters. I do that a lot. I also, and I always like if I send emails, and I text as well. It's a lot, but the texting, I think it's different because they see a blue tick, the blue message box. So it plays a huge role. And then I will just even say, hey, I'm not sure if you're getting my emails, let me know. Some of them really, they're not getting my emails. So I would tell them what to do to ensure that they're getting the emails. But
So you're just running through your phone list.
I'm just going through my phone list.
Right.
So that's why it's key. And I need to find a way how to automate this, but still make it personal. So I'm very strategic. Like everyone that I save, if they're PML, I save PML in my phone. Then when it's time for me to check in, I know, okay, I'm going to be doing a lot of texting, but I take breaks in between. So I would have a message, a standard message. But then when I paste that message, I still add I personalize it a little bit, because then I kind of remember the last conversation about that person. Maybe they were traveling and I could say, hey, how was your trip? Because I had a lender recently where I sent that message and I know they were traveling. And I'm like, hey, hope you had a great trip. Let me know if you need help with anything. So this is what you have to dedicate time, like set aside time to do those follow. It's not like, oh, I have 10 minutes now. Let me see if I can follow up. No, like just go through your phone and just send those messages. And then from those conversations, you will see the different issues that the lenders are having. Maybe they're not even getting your emails and you thought they were, or you thought they were even getting lists.
So what do you feel that you get more response from, your emails or your texts?
Both.
You do. Okay. Shane, we got to put a newsletter together.
You have to. And you do not, like Betsy and I just did a podcast on this, where we literally just paid for a newsletter, like the software. We were doing everything. It was all free.
Really? They have a software for that? Oh my God. I didn't even know. Who would have thought?
It's called Get Response.
Get Response.
We had everything in an Excel sheet. So we uploaded the document in Excel sheet, and then this is a lot, but every time we got a new person, the Excel sheet, we would make a note of it on our to-do list. And when we do our to-do list, now we'll just go in Get Response and add those new emails manually. Because we're like, okay, we're not paying for this right now. We can handle this. When we add them to the list, I think with Get Response, it allows you to up to, once you have like 5,000 contacts or less, you can send out as many newsletters as you want for free.
Okay.
Not schedule them, it was totally fine by us. We would just go in and we would create their templates there as well. You can go in, create your templates and just send it out. So we were doing that for free.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
So
newsletter.
Sometimes it gets a bad rap when you use certain words, but what's the hook, right? So you have a newsletter that goes out. Do you have them coming back to a website, or just getting your name out in front of people at first and just getting
what I learned is, because we are constantly learning something new every newsletter we do, and we tweak it every for us, it's really staying top of mind. Sometimes we would not hear for PMLs at all, and you will see them or you're chatting in and they're like, oh, I've been seeing your emails, and you're like, wait, but you haven't even responded to any of them. But it's really staying top of mind. And then what we started doing, another reason why we decided to pay for the subscription, we wanted to see the click rate. And we wanted to see, okay, we're putting links now in. How many persons are actually clicking the link? So we thought no one wants to come out of their email. They want to stay inside of it. So as much as we have our pitch deck and we'll be like investment opportunity here, there, click here for the details. Started including more details in the email body itself. And then that's something that we're testing out more as well. So if you really want, when you start growing and you're like, okay, I really need to see if this is working, pay for the subscription. But if you're starting out, you don't have a clue what to look for, use the free one. And when you start getting more serious about it, then pay for it. But the point of the email is for you to stay top of mind. And that's
Got
gonna
it. I get Angela Wayne's messages, email blasts. You know, you know who she is, Angela Wayne?
Yeah, I need to sign. When you said, I was like, I need to sign up for her newsletter list because I like.
Yeah, I get hers. The only thing about her newsletter, it does go into my spam.
So I think sometimes that's a Gmail thing.
Yeah.
When we started paying for Get Response, because it was going into spam as well, Get Response, you're able to do a spam check to know. You're able to do a spam check to know if it's going in spam. And
from your end, from the sender, you can see all that in your analytics.
yes, and
Okay.
it will show you before as well, because you can do like a spam check and they will tell you good to go. It's 99% chance this will not pop up in spam. For some persons, it will appear in their spam still. So I will say, hey, if you find it in your spam, drag that mail to your primary or move it to your primary. That means future emails will go straight to your primary. It will no longer go to your spam.
I just happened to have come across an email today for a newsletter.
Yeah.
And one of the things that in their first contact was, hey, if you found this in your spam, you know, like you said, drag it to your inbox, but then just send us a quick hello reply. And sometimes by doing that, now you've opened that two-way communication. Your computer says, okay, this isn't the spam material. This is needs to go into the inbox.
There you go. And that would work. And a lot of time, I think what they're doing now is they prompt you, is this safe or does it look like spam? So they're doing that a lot as well.
That's very good. A newsletter. All right.
Stay top of mind, definitely. Because what you find is you might have one lender, they're not ready, but they're still learning. They're fresh. But they're seeing deals that you're doing. They're seeing how deals are being structured. Then it may not work for them, but let's say they meet someone. I've had someone like this, talking to that person, like, oh, I know someone who's doing this. Let me forward you that email.
Perfect.
Yeah. So build.
That does happen. So, you send out 1,000 responses to 1,000 people that you know, for example, and all of a sudden you get 101, 110, 150 people contacting you back. Because it's been shared. Someone said, oh, hey, you got to talk to this person. She's awesome. She's got great knowledge. Or they forwarded your actual newsletter to them, right? And now organically you're growing your contact list by again providing that value, right?
Exactly.
But even I guess that's probably what you're looking for, is at some point that there's enough momentum there that it grows on its own, rather than right now you're spending a lot of time building that mass, right? The certain number of people that are involved and active.
That's the thing. And some persons are here now might be thinking, okay, her newsletter list is about 1,000. No, it's not. When I started sending out lists, I maybe had 50 people. And because I still didn't know the systems or what to use, I was BCCing everybody. In Gmail. And again, my goal was to just stay top of mind. So I would BCC everyone. And then the list start growing and I will go to meetups, and anyone that I meet, even if it's 2%, I'm adding them to my email list. So I'm saying this to say is like, you have to start somewhere and you just got to keep sending it out. We go to email meetups, we get people's contact. What do we do with it? Like, get their email, add them to your email list. They may not be a lender for you, but they may know somebody. And that's how you're going to keep building your list. I think right now, my list is not even 500, but I'm still sending out newsletters.
Keleisha, Stephanie wants to know, how often are you sending out your newsletters?
Funny enough, today I was talking to Betsy and I was like, yeah, I need to come up with a schedule. Because I was just sending them out as we please. Honestly, because I don't know if you guys are like me sometimes. If I try, I can be a perfectionist. And if I try to get all the systems in place, I will spend so much time fine-tuning the system that I will never send out a newsletter. So if I'm in the groove right now, okay, I'm gonna do a newsletter, I'm sending it out. Or I'll just schedule it to send out tomorrow morning. And I'm like, if it's Friday, I wanna send out another newsletter, best believe I'm gonna send it out. But the more you grow, you realize, okay, let me just put this on a schedule to make it easier. But you have to send out the newsletters. And then when you send it out, you're gonna be like, oh, I just made a mistake. Which that happened to me a lot. And I'm like, okay, next time I know I need to do this, but you got to send it out and make the mistake and see what the mistake is.
You know, and a lot of people say that, just take imperfect action.
Yeah.
Taking action of any kind is so much better than trying to make it perfect, right? And, you know, Cindy and I talked about this with our group. And originally this wasn't the Creative Real Estate University, right? This was Come Learn with Cindy and Shane. Because we didn't know what to call it. We just said, we got to do something. And same thing is, we didn't come up with a schedule. We said, well, let's see what we can do. On, had one on a Tuesday, and then it was like a week would go by, like, oh, we're gonna get another one going. But it wasn't until we said, okay, we're gonna do one every Thursday. We gotta have somebody. And then she's like, oh my gosh, I had to go find 4 people this month. Oh, that's so much work. And now she's like, I have 4 people next week. I'm like, ah.
And you find that everything will, like, when you start taking that action, I think some people may be like, I hate that phrase, take action, but it's true. Because I'm gonna do a quick story. When Betsy and I started working, we've never met each other before. Ever. We were just in sub 2, but we've never ever met in person. But we met in Keston Gaslow's performance program. And you know, when everything just aligned, we're like, okay, this is our goal. We both don't know what we're doing, but let's make it happen. And we were just going. And then she was like, oh, I have an idea. We should start a podcast. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not this YouTube girl. I am not doing that. And then 2 persons within that same week, in less than 2 days, said the same thing. And I'm like, okay, this is a sign. Keleisha, get out of your comfort zone, just try it. And I'm like, Betsy, okay, let's do this. And we sat there on a Friday night, guys. And when I tell you, went in Canva, created a flyer, because we're like, okay, if we're gonna do this, let's do this now. We don't need to figure out anything. We went in Canva, created a flyer. On the weekend, she Googled streaming platforms. That's it. And we did the free version of the first episode on StreamYard. And we're like, okay, we don't know anything about YouTube. Just go create something. We'll figure it out. And the first episode, it went really well. But then after that, we're like, okay, we're getting the momentum. Now we messed up on the first episode. We need to do this on the next one. And we're still doing that. So it's like
Every time.
action, like honest, that's how you figure it out. Now we have, like, we started this in March, the ending of March, actually got into April. We have almost 2 months worth of content for the podcast scheduled.
Well, shameless plug time. How do we find you on your podcast and YouTube?
So I'm gonna drop should have just put the link in here. But on YouTube, it's Kells and Betsy, KELLZNBETZY. And on Instagram, actually I can put it here to make it easier. It's easier.
Kells and Betsy, BE.
Kells and Betsy. I just put it in the chat. I think it should. That's the easy way to find it.
Oh, there you go. BETZY. Got it.
Yeah. So on Mondays, we just do a live episode where we just bring on a guest and we realize that we're just pumping in ideas thanks to AI. So we just started recording things, like we'll bring on investors just to share how they are raising capital for their projects as well. And we get ideas from that. So it's like, and it helps to build a ton of credibility. It really does. And a lot of times we're like, oh my God, we're not experts in this at all, but we're bringing on people with way more experience than we have, sharing their value. So what you guys are doing, Shane and Sydney, of having just a space and bringing value, that's building your credibility as well. So that's pretty great what you guys are doing.
And we're not perfect either, right? But we're active and we're buying and we're lending and we're trying to close deals. You know, we're funding deals on our mortgage brokerage side. But what we try to do is every week or every show, we learn something new. Every guest that comes on and we go, oh, that's a great idea. I always have pen and paper handy, always. Because I always got nuggets, gems coming either from the guest, you know, our guests that are on the side chat or our host. There's always something coming out.
Always.
So,
Like, oh, you always learn a ton of things to do. And I think with even just by persons reaching out to us with us doing the podcast, we realized there was a need of persons who are not sure what the private money lending process is. Because of we're being active and persons are asking us questions, we get ideas to the type of content to create. So we're like, okay, why not, again, bring value? Let's do a webinar and show people or process that what we walk private money lenders through when looking to lend. We're not trying to raise capital. We're just going to do a webinar and bring value. And hopefully that goes well on Thursday.
just a quick survey of everybody that's listening, that's out there, who here is wanting to raise some private money for a project. Either they have something specific in mind, or just in that process, they know that they're going to have a project coming up soon, but they want to know and be ready. Just, you know, drop a 1 in the chat or say me, just so I get a count of where people are at. Oh yeah.
Love it.
Excellent. So, Keleisha, where do people start?
So to start, I actually try to come up with like something super simple. But first, I would say one is education, which you guys are doing now for being here. You do not have to be perfect, but just understand, okay, who is a private money lender? At least you can explain that to grandma and grandpa. Who is that person? And just a basic understanding of how this process works. You don't need to be technical. Okay, hey, normally we have this project. Then once we will send you a detailed overview, we'll explain it. Once that is done, then this will be the next step, which is maybe title. Everyone's process is different, but get an idea of what other person's process is and keep it simple. So you educate yourself. The next thing I have is during that entire process, start building your network. Be active, dedicate time to be active in the different groups that you guys are in. That way people are seeing you. State what you're doing so people now remember what you're doing. So if you miss a post, another person in that group is going to tag you because they know that that's what you're focused on. When you're doing that, go to local meetups. Guys, like people might hear local meetups, like I hear that all the time. But when you're there in that market that you're focused on, a lot of those persons are not in those Facebook groups that you are a part of. And because they're so hands-on there, you're now starting to build that relationship. And if you not tell them, this is what I'm doing, they'll be like, oh, you know, John does a lot of fix and flip and he's not looking to lend. John isn't in that group. But John now meets you and John keeps seeing you that you're at those meetings. And now John start introducing you to more people. So attend those meetups. Doesn't have to be every meetup, maybe just dedicate one meetup a month. Just find a local meetup. You can go on meetup.com. You can go on eventbrite.com and just do one meetup for the month. And lastly, that I would say is, keep posting, post on social media, start. And if you guys are not on your phone and you're on your computer, take a picture of this Zoom, put it on your Facebook right now, and just make a post and tag as many people as you can. Tag us in that post as well. that you are here. So I'm going to give everyone, if you can, I'm going to give like a minute, just take a photo and tag in your stories, tag in the Facebook group. This is the way you're building your online presence. This is you being active in real estate. So even before we started, I did my boomerang. So I'm ready to go. I have options and ready to post in my story.
So, and I like to always tell people, be intentional, because I need to say it to other people, so I hear it, because I'm horrible at it. But to be intentional, meaning that you already had this kind of thought going into this, that, you know what, I'm going to have my phone ready to take a picture. I'm horrible at that. Or I'll go to an event, meet a bunch of great people, and not write down anybody's name or number or what they do or how do I get hold of them. You know, be intentional in those interactions and saying, hey, I want to reach back out to this person or that person, and here's right. And if you have that plan beforehand, then it's not a reaction in the moment.
Yeah. So even if you want to be present, like a lot of times I want to be present when I go to networking events because I want to listen what someone is telling me. So the moment I walk in, I just take a picture of the room. And then I know I'm done. Because maybe when I start talking to people, I don't want to be paying attention to my phone. So the moment you walk in, take a picture of the room. If you get a break and you're like, give me 1 second, I'm just going to run to the restroom, come back, you take another photo. One is better than none. And then you're good to go. So build your online presence. Not even, let me not say build, but start building it, start working on it, start posting, and leverage other people's network. That's going to be key. The more you do things now, you just repeat the entire process and you keep getting better and you keep getting better. So the process is not new. You're just repeating and improving.
Somewhere, one of the events that I was in Dallas, I say it's a trick, but it was a neat little thing that they did. Is we just had a quick conversation and we're just chatting, and he just said, do you mind if we get a picture together? Great. And he took a picture. And then later he reached out, and because you're at an event, you're going to get a lot of people that reach back out to you, and you're always trying to remember who is that person. But if they come back and they tag you in a picture, you will remember that so much better. When you reach back out to that person and go, hey, remember me? We talked about this, that. Then there we are. And, so that was one of those neat little things that helped me also remember that person, is I would save that picture on their contact.
I recently started doing that. I saw someone do it as a meetup. They're like, oh, let's take I was like, what are you doing? They're like, oh, so I can remember you. Now, if I take someone's number, I was like, let's do a selfie. And I right there, I'm like, okay, I'll send you that picture. Here you go. So you will remember me. And I just say it. So I'm glad you brought that up, Shane. That is that's amazing.
Yeah, and Stephanie brought up a good point. Use your Blink app. I got into doing that as well. It's free, and it's a QR code on your phone, and you can just kind of share it and scan it, and then it's all your contact information, and they have the ability to send it back to you. When you're meeting lots of people in an event, that's a great one, Stephanie. Thank you.
And then Stephanie, what you can do is after that meetup, you sit down and you go through, because it will show you that day, all the contacts that you got. Take their email and add it to your email list and build your newsletter. That's been super helpful for me. I was like, where did I meet this person? And I was like, oh, I went to this event on that day. That's from that event.
I'm on page 2 already, Keleisha.
But a lot of the things, honestly, it's simple. We've heard it. If you put it on Google, if you put it in AI, it's going to tell the same thing. But it's going to come down to, are you making time to do it? Are you really dedicating time to do it? And just be consistent. I was running away from raising capital for a long time because I thought I wasn't capable of doing it, because I always hear people like, oh, they're getting people with 100,000. I was like, okay, I can't. The thought alone scared me. And then I went as far as doing direct to agent because I was running away from raising capital. I did that for 90 days. And after that, I'm like, no, I'm done. Cold calling is not for me. I don't like acquisition, and I'm like, I'm gonna give this my all. I'll figure it out. And I just dropped everything I was doing and focused heavily on raising capital. And when I tell you, everything just started aligning, and I just start learning so many different things. And that's because I started being super consistent and given that my attention of raising capital, then things just start flowing, and it's still flowing, and I'm still learning. So you guys just set aside the time to really raise capital and build those relationships.
And it may seem like sometimes we're off on tangents when we're talking about things like bullying contact cards or newsletters, but really those are all the fine roots that hold up the tree of private money, right? Those are all the different ways how we branch out and build those contact lists. And because that's not something that's easy just to pass by somebody, sit down next to somebody at the airplane and say, oh, hey, I'm looking for private money. You got anything? You know, it takes a long time to nurture that relationship. You know, and it might be first contact, it might be the 100th contact. You don't know until you keep trying.
Yeah, and you gotta be intentional now. That's one thing I've learned with Amy. When people ask, what do you do? Yeah, you may have a W-2, but what is the main goal? Everyone wants to leave their W-2. You don't start talking about your W-2. Start talking about real estate. And I used to be like, oh, I do real estate. And I'm like, you dumb. Because the first thing they're like, oh, do you fix and flip? Are you an agent? And I'm like, now I gotta start explaining. So I kind of like do a pitch depending on the event that I'm at. Not like well scripted, but like just an idea what I'm gonna say, because I wanted to go back to raising capital, and I want them to ask me a question like, what do you mean? What does that mean? Right? So be intentional of what you say. Join in like your local groups, volunteer. Like I recently joined, so I moved to Tampa 6 months ago, and I decided, okay, I want to build my network. What do? I'm going to go to the Chamber of Commerce. I'm going to join it. I'm going to spend the money, and I'm going to go and network. I'm not going to see that lending opportunity right away, but so far someone sees what I'm doing and connected me with a PMF. Just because I just joined the Chamber of Commerce, and I just attend their networking events, and I'm trying now to be more involved. I do volunteer work and all that stuff. Again, it's a part of the process. It's a long-term game, but goes back to when you hear people talk about building relationships. So the simple things that you can do to start building. You don't have to wait until you're ready.
I don't want to turn this into the Amy show, but I do know a little bit about her. So I do know one of the things that she talked about was building your elevator pitch, right? Your 20-second pitch. Is that something that she's still talking about? Is that something that you worked on?
Yeah, so she talks about it a lot, and she will tell you tweak it. I don't use it anymore because I just tweak it. And the reason why is I find a lot of persons use the phrase double-digit returns. And that might go over people's head a lot. And they'll be like, oh, I've heard this before. I don't want to hear what you have to say. So that's where I adjust based on the rooms that I'm in. Sometimes I still mess up. And I will do it with one person. I introduce myself. And after that conversation, I'm like, why did you say that? But then I know when I move to the other person, I fix my pitch right away. Because I'm like, okay, I messed up with that intro. I'm going to talk to somebody else. I'm going to fix my pitch. So it really just depends. Recently, I went to Miami for a fund launch event. And I realized you're in that room with people who have raised billions of dollars. And just to hear their different pitch, you also get ideas. So again, attending events and speaking to people, you're hearing how they're pitching. You're like, oh, I need to adjust my pitch. And sometimes I'll be like, I act super dumb. And just let them talk. Like, okay, I'm doing this fund and I've raised $300 million. Okay, nice, that's pretty good. What are you focused on? Like, I'm not even talking about me at this point. I'm like, what is your fund focused on? Like, how are you finding these lenders, these accredited investors? What approach are you taking? What are you saying? And I start picking their brains. because you don't need to know anything about me. I want to know all what you're doing.
You're right, because that person you might find out is they raised all those hundreds of millions of dollars to go out and buy single family homes. Oh, really? What area, what market? How, next thing you know, you might have a buy box from them and,
Yep.
and a inside phone number that of a buyer that's buying 4 or 5 houses a month.
Yeah.
Okay, that's gold. Yeah.
No, Patricia, you're so right.
And Stephanie had a good comment here, and she's posted in the side that says, "I'm an investor." And when I first started Sub 2, it's one of the things that I wrote down on my visual board.
Yeah.
Is a statement very similar to that, because I had to change. People always ask me, "Hello, Shane, what do you do?" Right? And for almost 30 years, I said, "Well, I'm a chemical engineer. I'm a project manager." And I wanted to force that change out of me and to say, you know what, I'm a real estate investor, and to get that story out and share it and then see where it goes. I'm like you, I like to kind of like drop that out there. And I know I talk a lot on here, but in life, I'm an introvert.
We're in the club.
So I love to listen though. I'm an active listener, and
Yeah.
well,
That's me.
put that out there. If that's who you are as an investor, let it be known.
Be known.
Yeah.
Shane, well, I am just like you. I'm an introvert, but once I get comfortable, I'll start talking. But that's one of my challenges right now. I'm like, okay, I know I have to go to networking events. I don't know anyone here. And especially because I started going to events too outside of real estate. So a couple months ago, I went to this meetup. It's Women in Tech. And I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about tech. I don't know anyone here. And when I'm telling you, I got inside that event and I'm like, Keleisha, turn back. What are you gonna talk about? I came out, I left. But there was this voice to be like, I thought you were challenging yourself and stepping out of your comfort zone. I went back and I was like, okay, just stay for 30 minutes. If you're not seeing any value, then you can leave. But and this is me talking to myself. I'm like, just go for 30 minutes and you're networking, and this is how you're gonna find people with money, but you're networking. So I went in and I saw this girl standing up and I was like, hi, my name is Keleisha. How are you? You look amazing. And I'm like, and then she was super shy too, because she's in tech and she didn't know anyone there at the event. And we were just talking. And then after that, we light in the room and we're like, girl, you got this. And she's like, you got this. Let's go and talk to more people. And that event went super well. So it's like,
Awesome. Yeah, you just gotta put yourself out there a little bit.
Yeah. You have.
And I know sometimes it looks natural for me, it's not. But I have to force myself to do it. But whenever I do it and find a good connection, I just say, wow, that was gold.
No, it really was, but we just have to, we're never going to be perfect. We're always going to find a fault of ourselves. And yet when we put content out there on the online space, someone is looking at you, but like, oh my God, you're doing great things. You're taking a step, you're doing something. And inside you're like, I'm not doing anything. It's gonna happen, whatever level you are in your career, it's really gonna happen. But you just gotta remind yourself, like, what I try to do is look back where I was yesterday. I kind of sit down and evaluate, okay, what point in my life am I in the same stage that I was yesterday and today? And I have those self-talks, but like, okay, come on, you got this. There's no system.
So what, you kind of talked briefly about the first PML that you got, and then you had some paperwork, and it's not quite the way you do it now. What if we were to go out and get a new private money lender today, what process would you have in place to protect that person? Walk us through the process that you have.
So I'm going to walk through a process for someone that's completely new, and I'll do a scenario for someone that experienced. So someone who's completely new, let's say they found me, I'm going to do my San Antonio. I had this project, this property in San Antonio, Sub 2. The PML that I had was my old landlord. Now, this landlord, before I left, I told them, hey, because when I quit, they're like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, real estate. They're like, okay, it's something I want to do too. I want to get passive income, retirement, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, let me take your email. I'll just add you, like whenever I have anything, I'll send you an email. At this time, I had no clue that that was an email list. Took their email, and when I figured out I need to have an email list, I added them. And I will send them things. So they'll be sending getting the emails. And every time I get an email, they would call and ask me about that deal. Now, a lot of times the questions that they were asking, I did not know. So now I would go to someone who has the answer to it and go back to them. These guys were completely new. So every single deal, they would ask me questions about it. But I know within myself, they're not going to lend because they're in the learning phase. And I had to be patient with that and explain the things so they could understand. This would be a PML qualification process. So you're qualifying this potential lender to see if they will be ready, what level they're at. They were completely new. So you're now educated. Let's say we go to someone who is, I'm going to use another PML who I've seen that they've been investing. We hop on a phone call. Hey, how's your day going? I have this opportunity. But first of all, before I even dive into this project, have you ever lent on a deal before? It might seem like a dumb question, but I need that answer because I know how am I going to navigate my conversation. Let's say they're like, oh, I've lent on deals before. Sure, tell me about a deal that you've lent on. Because I want to have an understanding of what you've done, what you're comfortable with. From there, if they're like, if I picked up that they have lent on quite a few deals, then I'll be like, okay, I have this project, let's say in Florida. We acquired it subject to, and this is what we're planning to do with it. It's going to be an Airbnb. If that doesn't work out, we have a second backup plan. We're going to do a lease option, or we're going to do a wrap. I have the numbers that I can share with you in an email. We're asking for an investment. Not a loan. We're asking for an investment of $20,000. The period is going to be 12 months. I like my money in 6 months. I don't want to do anything shorter than 6 months. That's totally fine. One of the reasons why we don't do 6 months, because of the exit, we want to be safe. We know of how the market is going. If we can repay you in 6 months, we definitely will and pay that % interest. But we're working with 12 months. And I do this to break the ice. Now, a lot of persons always ask, what if you die? Knock on wood. I really do say that. I'm like, what if I die? Knock on wood. Well, if I die, I want to make sure that your money is protected. So, and I want to make sure it's secured. So we provide these documents, a promissory note, and I will say, hey, don't worry about it. It might seem overwhelming. I'm going to send you an overview and an email of everything that we're talking about. I'll show you samples so you can see it. If you don't have samples, guys, go on the internet, find samples. And I'm like, we're going to give you a promissory note. And this is the agreement. The promissory note is really just an agreement just to show the terms. Where the real protection is the recorded mortgage. Then I would explain the recorded mortgage part. Now, depending on their experience, I may go in with the second, the third, and the fourth lien position. If they're completely new, I'm not even going into that. I'm just telling you, this is how you're secured, and this is why we have this paperwork. And I will say, hey, just in case I die, if that house needs to be sold, right? Whoever has the first mortgage, which is normal at the bank, they will get paid first and you will get paid second. I'm not getting paid anything, or any of my partners not getting paid anything unless you are paid. And I'm like, to be super safe as well, everything that I do, I don't draft the paperwork. I have an attorney that draft the paperwork for them. And when we get all the paperwork, we got different options. I can review it with you. I can have someone from title review it with you, but I always recommend if you have an attorney, get that attorney to review it with you. Not being pushy at all. This is the review. Once that is done, the next step is we will sign all the paperwork, and then you will get wire instructions. I always advise, hey, when you get that wire instruction, call the title company, go on Google and search for that company as well. Make sure it matches the same address, the phone number, and everything. If you're good with that, then you wire the funds. Now, if you wire the funds, I'm not getting that money right away. because title needs to make sure that I sign those paperwork and everything is still in order. If everything is good, then that's when I get your money, right? And I keep explaining the process. Now, sometimes they can go completely blank because they're quiet. Sometimes they're listening. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. I go back to reassure you, hey, don't worry about it. As we go along, I'll be explaining to you the process. I will keep repeating it so you remember. If it's that when you get super technical, that means it's an investor. That's when you start bringing up all the numbers. This is what a cash flow is, da-da-dee. But if this person's new or this is gonna be their second time, don't even bring up all of that. Because sharing the closing cost, sharing all those little fine details, you're gonna overwhelm them. And some persons are like me, if I see financial statements, I don't even wanna look at anything again, because I'm like, I'm done with this. Because it's too much numbers. So keep it simple.
Cindy,
Huh?
Cindy's the same way.
Sydney, right? Oh, I can't.
She'll send it to me and say, look at this. Look,
I'm over this. I don't want to look at it at all. And you find a lot of persons, they won't say that out loud, but that's just a natural reaction. So you keep it simple. And then you let them know, hey, I'll send you an email of everything that we just discussed. And what I normally do, I make it a point of my duty. By the end of the day, if I cannot, I will let them know, hey, I'm a little bit swamped, but I will try to send it to you by the end of the day, if not tomorrow. What I do, I have a presentation power packet that will include everything that we just discussed, sources of funding for PML, the PML process again, the documents, it shows example. I have a 3-page of commonly asked questions on that paperwork, and I send it to them. I also send them my pitch decks of deals that I've done using PMLs. And the reason I do that is because they can now see how deals are structured. PMLs get a better understanding of when they see different projects that you have done and how you structured those deals. Because if you ask them, what are you looking for? If they're new, they don't know what they're looking for. So they can now see things and be like, oh, tell me a little bit more about this. How did you structure that? They're learning too. So when they're ready, you're gonna send them a deal. And when they're ready, you're gonna be like, do you wanna hop on a phone call to go over it? And they're like, no, I'm ready. That was my landlord. It took me 6 months and they've seen all my deals. And when I just simply send them a text, because I'm like, I know they didn't see this email and I know I'm gonna have to go on a call because they gotta learn. I just send them a text. Hey, I have this deal in San Antonio. Do you want to partner on it with me? Without even seeing the deal, they said yes. That was 6 months of being on the phone, explaining the process over. At that point, they were comfortable and ready to go. Like ready. So even when I needed more money for that deal, they're like, I understand it. I understand the different strategy that you're doing and I get it. How much more money do you need? So it's an entire learning process.
And again, don't expect that to happen overnight.
Yeah.
So even the people that you know, it's a long-term play. Yeah.
That's why the little steps of sending out your emails, working with what you got, telling people what you're doing, it will pay off. It will pay off over time.
And again, later learn from you, Keleisha, say is be able to change your message based on the person hearing it. You know, don't go super technical if someone who's not experienced or doesn't want to know the details. You know, keep it at a high level if that's where they're at. Go into the details if that's where they want to go. But don't try to lead them there.
And if they ask you a question and you're not sure, I still get that a lot, especially because I raise capital for other persons. If they ask me a question, hey, you know what? And this is how I play it off as I don't do. I was like, hey, you know what? I think I know the answer to that, but let me just double check 1 second. I'm gonna like double check that info and I'll get back to you. That's it. Nothing else. They don't need to know that you really don't know, but all you got to do now is go find the answer. Hey, I spoke with my partner or I did some research. And this is the answer to your question. If you're still unclear, like especially if it's something as relates to like taxes or a legal thing, hey, I got the answer, but I think talk to a CPA or your attorney just to confirm. Always say that. And if you have a question, if you put anything in writing, always tell them, go seek advice. This is not expert advice. Like, always let them know that as well.
So, Keleisha, would you share that with us if we emailed you? And
Presentation?
yes.
Yeah. And then on our webinar this Thursday, I'm gonna go through and break down every single page of how I explain it. All the FAQs, everything like that, because we recently redid it. So I can definitely share that as well, so you guys have that.
All right, and that is this Thursday, what time?
So it's this Thursday at 7 p.m. EST. I just shared this. Oh, I copied the link to share it, and I did not.
Cindy, are you still there? Or did you drop off? We had originally Travis Banks scheduled for Thursday, 7 p.m. But I think she changed that because I'll be on a plane heading to Oklahoma. So I think she moved Travis to Monday. So I think our Thursday's open. So if any of y'all are available, I think what Keleisha is going to have to offer would be fabulous to go see. Again, unfortunately, I won't be able to see it live. I'll be on a plane, but I'll definitely like to. Are yours, once you're done with your live stream, do you put it to your YouTube channel?
So some of them, this one won't go to our YouTube. So only persons who register will get the link, the replay link, and will also get the presentation that we send out. And then everything else that we discuss, they will get that as well. But other things are on our YouTube. We've touched on it a little bit on our YouTube as well. We've touched on how to pitch. We've touched on how to find lenders, how to market as well. We just try to break it down as simple as possible, but it really is gonna come down to you just doing it.
But even though I can't make it, I should still click through and register.
Put through and register, because at least at the end you will get that replay. You will get the power packet as well. If you guys, if on our website we show our pitch decks. So one thing that persons are doing right now is creating pitch decks, and I realize that it doesn't even touch on this. It doesn't need whenever, let's say you have a deal, you have all the info. A lot of lenders like to see things visual. So you can go in Canva. Canva is free, and just look for a proposal and put some pictures on it, put the details on it, and at least you have something. Because to a PML, they're looking at the presentation. They may not even know you, but because they see your deck that is well put together, they're like, okay, this person's a little bit serious. Let me just hear what they have to say. So your pitch decks helps a lot. It shows your track record, because imagine you're looking for funding for a deal and you're talking to 10 different people, telling them who you are about the deal 10 different times. If you had that pitch deck, they could just review it. That means if they're interested, they already got to know who you are. They already got to know info on the deal. So that by the time they get on the phone, they have a few questions about that particular deal. I found lenders in sub-2 never ever had a conversation with them before. And I needed funding really last minute. Like, and I'm telling you, like 2 days, because our PML backed out. And they're like, what's wrong with this deal? I was like, listen, nothing's wrong with it. This was the case. And I sent them screenshot of that conversation with the PML. So they didn't think I was lying. But what let those 2 lenders lend me over $300,000 was my pitch deck. This was 2 days before Christmas.
Wow. Yeah.
And I just had a pitch deck.
That, something very similar happened to us recently with a private money lender. Great person, great rapport. At the last minute, something changed in her life that she had to change. We're talking 2 days before closing.
Yeah.
So talk to us real quick about those things do happen. It's one of the risks of dealing with private money lenders is, I always say, always try to keep one in your back pocket, because you never know when something bad is going to happen. You just want to be able to call and say, hey, Keleisha, I remember, I
Was.
got a deal.
The paperwork. I've created LLCs, given equity in deals, and the lender backed out. LLC is already created, and they're like, I can't do this, Keleisha. And I had to be like, this is where now I know like I'm growing, because before I'd be like, oh, and I would send out that energy. But I just pause and I breathe and I ask them, did something went wrong? Or I try to get a feedback from them. If they're like, this is really just not for me, or I'm scared, I'm like, no worries, that's fine. I'll keep you in the loop. And then I just had to switch into find another PML. I had to switch into that mode. I couldn't sit down, complain, or all that stuff, because I had 2 days. I already had $50,000 EMD down. Could not, and I know Christmas was already gonna kill me, because with Christmas, you know, you're gonna lose extra days. So I'm like, okay, you gotta switch. And you gotta tell yourself, okay, find the good. There's something good that's gonna come out of this. Whether you find the funding or not, something good. During that time, I think that was the time I met Shane. And that time, Shane, I've never spoken to Shane before. And Shane was like, I wish I could, but reach out to me for future deals. And those were the conversations I was getting. Person would be like, I could help, but. So you're not building your network during that time too. So you might not get funding, but at least you find 2 or 3 more PMLs for future deals. So there's something good that can come out of it.
And that's a very valid point when you're talking about private money lenders who are active, right? These are experienced people that are actively doing deals. Their money may be tied up for another 3, 6, 9, 12 months. Right? They may have just gotten into a deal, but they're active. Their names are worth keeping. They may not be able to help you on this deal that you want funding for, but you never know. They might call you back up and just say, Keleisha, I got private money that's coming off a project. I don't have a project. I need someplace for this money to go. What do you have?
Yeah.
So build that rapport with them, get your name in front of them, right? So they remember you, so that they're going to be calling you when their money's available.
Yeah. No, you're right 1,000%. Nancy, what do you do at LLC? So what I had to do, I had to go through the state and remove their name. I still use that entity. Good thing it was like 3 members on it. So I just updated the operating agreement and went through the state and just removed them from that entity. Cost us a little bit money because we had to pay, but we still use that entity because we already paid maybe like $700 or $800 to get it registered. So we just found a new PML and closed on that property.
It's easier to change the members' names than it is to create a new LLC. More cost effective. That's what we had to do as well. So,
and these things you're only learning when you will learn when you're going through the process.
Right.
Figure out what to do next. That's the only time you will learn, because books won't tell you this, webinars, Zooms won't tell you this. Like, you just got to go, and then you're stuck. You find someone who's done it before. Okay, this is where I'm stuck. What do I do next?
Just kind of like watching time and see where everybody's at. If you have questions, please bring them up. I wonder, Celeste, maybe we should reschedule another meeting. I know you had just recently sent me a couple of projects to look at. I made dinner and haven't looked at them yet. But maybe we need to come back and have a meeting with the group and just walk through a couple of deals.
Yeah.
And see, see what a pitch looks like. We've done that before, but it's been a while since we've done it. I think we've done one with Will. One of Will's projects we did a pitch on, but maybe we need to do a couple like that, and then people could see the process better than just talking about it. And maybe that's what we need to do, and see if we can't do some deals together.
No, I would love that. I would love to share the different decks we've been doing, because each deck is even different because of how the deal is structured. So I'd actually love to check that out. And if you guys want to see that even before, we have a few decks on our website that you guys can see what all the work that we've done so far as well.
And again, now it can't be understated. Pictures. it
Yeah.
just seemed to resonate with everybody is, we're all visual people, and to be able to see the house or the project and the inside, the outside, really sets it off. So
You gotta put all the info in as much as you can. This was fun though. I enjoyed this. Hope you guys go valid. This was good.
and let's see, we need to sign up for Thursday. Let's see if I can't grab that again. Copy. And this is the Thursday.
Thursday.
And I will sign up again. Please, I apologize. I won't be there. I'll be on a plane, but we'll definitely get caught up again. And I'll reach out to you after this, and let's schedule something. Let's go over some deals, and let's see if we can't bring something to everybody, your group and ours, and let's walk through a deal together and see if we can get it funded.
Oh, definitely. That would be great. Thank you for having me. You guys have been so attentive and interactive. I love this.
Yeah, 2 pages of notes. Thank you.
Producer said 3.
All right, so this is a better note taker. I've been doing too much talking, not enough writing.
Producer said she just write in. I love it. No, I love it. I love it. I love it. Just be sure that if you guys haven't posted as yet, just post that you were on this Zoom and this is what you were learning about. Like, don't take the info, and it will a lot of times be sitting there in your notepad, but just push yourself and be like, okay, I'm really, really gonna try this. And then you find out you push yourself to an extent and you're like, whoa, I got a momentum. What is this? And then you get so much done. You look back in the day, it's like, man, I'm proud of myself for pushing myself today.
That's awesome. That's excellent. It's a great reminder just to push that extra step every day if you can, right? They say 1% better every day. Man,
Every day goes a far way.
Oh.
Really goes a far way, trust me.
it's been an honor. It's been a privilege. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for coming. Roberto,
Thank you. Thank you.
and let us know how that trip goes. Let us know.
All right, I will.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.